Hello, hello, hello. How you guys doing? It's Wednesday night. Hope you guys had a good day today. Let's see who shows up tonight. Hey, Sherilyn, how are you doing? How are you doing? Hey, Jody, come on in. Slide on in. I forgot to pin my title. We're gonna have to live without it tonight. It's gonna be too much stress for me to type that all in right now. Anyway, welcome to Afterthought, everybody. Come on in. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, guys. I'm doing good, Sherilyn. It's good to have you here. Hey, Jody. Thanks. You like my purple shirt? It's one of my favorite colors. Just rocking up to a little bit of jazz. I don't know anybody who doesn't like jazz. If you don't like jazz, you need to get your head checked. But let's see who else joins us tonight. If no one else joins us, we'll just have a little chat amongst ourselves. What's going on with this weather, guys? It's a little bananas. I thought we were heading on into spring, but yesterday it was snowing. I don't know about that. I want to put away my winter jacket. But anyway, we take it as it comes. The kids are outside playing in it anyway. I am not much of a winter girl, but I will take whatever weather that comes. I'm still able to get outside and get some fresh air. Let's just turn this down so we can have some real talk. Yeah, the wind was crazy. Yes, snowing. I live in just outside of the Toronto area in Ontario, and it was not a lot of snow, but we did get a little bit of flurries, and I was not expecting that. We got it yesterday and the day before, and I just want it to be summer, guys. I am a summer girl, and I'm ready for it to be hot. So tonight, again, I forgot to pin my title. I forgot to type it in. But anyway, tonight we're talking about what happens when life doesn't go the way you want. You haven't gone outside in 5 days, Sherilyn? Come on. Hi, Jerisha. How are you doing? Why haven't you been outside? You need to go out and get some fresh air, young lady. So tonight we're talking about what happens when life doesn't go the way you expect. When things don't roll the way you want it, the way you were hoping it would, the way it rolls for everybody else, but somehow you got a big old bucket of lemons and everybody out there is munching on mangoes and juicy strawberries and oranges. And you got lemons. What are you supposed to do with that? Well, let's get into that a little bit. I have some notes here, so if I glance off a bit, then that's what I'm looking at. You know, as much as we all like to march to the beat of our own drum, most of us tend to follow the social cues that everyone gives us, right? Hey, Grey Wisdoms, come on in. Tonight we're talking about making lemonade out of lemons. Yeah, and even though we like to think that we're all original and we all, you know, do our own thing, we tend to follow the pattern that everyone kind of sets up for us, the social norms. Most of us do anyway. You know, you grow up, you listen to your parents, you go to school, most of us. You find something that you like to do, maybe you study for it, maybe you get some experience doing it, you meet someone, you fall in love, you start a family, you follow your career, you lead this long, happy life, right? Or so they tell us. The longer I live, the more I realize that the movies have sold us this grand fallacy, this illustrious lie. But what happens when you have bought into it and then you start to walk into your life and you realize it's not going the way that they told me it was going to go? You know, how do you move forward? How do you move forward when the rug gets ripped out from under you? And tonight I'd have a couple of maybe case studies. I thought I would go more of a personal route tonight instead of giving you 5 tips of how to conquer life, because life doesn't always go like that. You can have all the tips in the world, and when that rug gets pulled up from under you, you fall on your butt and you don't know what to do. So at first, I thought I would start with my own story. Some of you know it, and many of you don't. I'm putting it out there on the big wide internet for the whole world to see. But I'll share snippets of it. So I was born in the Caribbean, and when it became apparent that I was moving to Canada with my mom, I was a little annoyed, to be honest, at having to leave what I know to be my reality. But I expected what I saw in the movies. I was young, and thank you, Jody. Vulnerability is strength. I'm trying. So I expected the first world niceties. I expected to um, come straight in and start to be productive and successful right away. I was in the middle of post secondary school when I left my country, and I came here, and I expected to get right back into post secondary school. Well, there were many hiccups along the way. Um, there's a lot to be said about migration. My friend Jody and I were just talking about this the other day. But that didn't go as planned. I spent a whole year doing just electives because they were trying to assess my credentials. I ended up not going back to school right away. I ended up having to work and work jobs that I didn't expect to work. I expected to be in a professional setting, and I ended up working in a factory, just trying to make ends meet. Hey, Nicole, thanks for coming on in. I ended up working in a factory, just trying to make ends meet, trying to put food in my stomach. And yes, the weather change was crazy. I knew it was going to be cold, but man, I started wearing my winter jacket in September. People were laughing at me, but that was crazy. So anyway, fast forward a few years, I got married, and so that, I guess, went as expected. I expected to get married young, and as life would have it, I did. And I was hoping to start a family, but wouldn't have any money. And my husband is a planner, like many men are, and he thought that it would be best for us to wait until we were on more stable footing. And so we put that on the back burner. I eventually went back to school. Hey, Kate, come on in. I eventually went back to school and pursued my education. And that in itself is a journey. I had to go through, I was working while I was going to school. So working part-time, going to school full-time, burning the candle at both ends, running here, running there all the time. And during that time that I was in school, time kept ticking away. And people's expectations around what a married couple is supposed to look like, that started to seep into my life. People were like, aren't you gonna have children? What are you waiting for? No one to ask if you're having reproductive issues. Mind you, we weren't, but people's expectations and opinions were just ridiculous. So anyway, went to school, did that, fast forwarded. Hey, Sophia, thanks for coming on through. Tonight we're just talking about making lemonade out of those lemons that life will throw at you. And so where was I? So went back to school, finished school, and then got a job. I was really happy for that in my field. And then we decided that we would try for a baby. And I thought, okay, we did all the things that we were supposed to do. Went to school, got the job, earning some money. Finally, we can have this baby. And we got pregnant, and we lost the baby, right? Didn't think I would share that part, but I am, because this is real. This is real life, guys, and I didn't expect that. And I was crushed. It took me a few days to peel my body off of the living room floor. So then, Time marched on. We tried again. We got pregnant. Baby carried to term. At 6 months, I got put on bed rest. Did not expect that either. Um, did my bed rest. Baby came. And, when I was in school, I went to school for social work. And I ended up teaching some parenting courses. And I taught a mom and talk class. And thank you. We've gotten past that now, but it's a part of that story, right? Um, I taught a mom and talk class, and I was known amongst my friends as the baby whisperer, right? Everybody who had a crying baby would give the baby to Roxanne. Roxanne knew how to rock the baby to sleep. Roxanne knew how to change the diapers. Roxanne knew how to get the baby to eat. I was all about babies. I was ready for this child, and I had expectations that things were going to go just great. Well, wouldn't you know it, that this child came and everything was great until no, Kate, I'm not really magical, just eager, right? Wouldn't you know it, that this child came and 2 3 weeks everything was fine, and then my husband had to go back to work and my baby started to scream. I ended up having a colicky baby, and nothing in the world prepared me for that. And I get it. Like, my child was healthy, and I know that there are very many people who have babies with physical disabilities, with developmental delays, and that was not my case. But to be honest with you guys, I just didn't expect a colicky baby. I expected a baby who would sleep through the night. I know I was young and stupid. I expected a baby who would sleep through the night, who would giggle and coo and, just be fine. But he screamed from about month 1 to about month 5. And I remember pacing the floor, just rocking this child, hoping he would doze off. And I was crying because here I am. I've waited years to become a mother. I'm a mother now, and I can't get this baby to settle. There were all these expectations. And then on top of it, he had severe reflux, right? So I would feed him, and then he would spit up. And the spit up would be so forceful that he would be choking on it. And so my husband's at work, and I would be like on my way to the doctor's with him, or going to the grocery store, or whatever that is, and my child is choking in the back seat. And I remember, stopping in the middle of traffic, getting him out of that car seat, which has like 10,000 buckles, trying to get him out of that, right? And somewhere along the line, I had to realize that I had to get rid of the parenting life that I was expecting, and parent the child that I had in front of me. I had to do what was necessary for him. I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm not a doctor, totally outside of my scope of practice. But, when you leave the hospital with the baby, they tell you to put the baby on their back to sleep. And my child couldn't do that. And it took me a while to realize that I had to put him on his tummy, and that was better for his reflux. Couldn't understand why he wouldn't sleep on his back for nothing. He would scream and scream and scream. Hey, come on in. Thanks for joining us. And so we had to figure out how to, hey, Bailey, hey, Katie. We had to figure out how to live the life that we had in front of us, instead of pursuing in vain the life that we thought we were expecting, right? So that's kind of where that went for me in terms of my first child. Then second child came along. We were so excited to have the second baby. And Jody, I don't know if you remember this, but when I brought my second baby home, here I am now with a toddler, and I really, really struggled with caring for the infant and caring for the toddler. Toddler needs one thing, infant needs another thing. I'm one mom with one lap, right? And so it was difficult. I remember Jody came to my home, my friend here, she's online with us, came to my home and said, you're going to have to figure out how to do bedtime. Because I was complaining, I couldn't understand, I was frustrated and overwhelmed. My husband would sometimes work late, and I would have to put the toddler to bed. And and I would have to feed the infant. And we had a really nice bedtime routine. And how am I gonna bath the toddler or read him a story and get him to bed when the baby is crying or whatever? And I had to just, I realized that it's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna look the way it looks like on TV. My house is gonna be dirty. There's gonna be dishes in the sink. And it took a fellow social worker to come into my home and say, forget the dust bunnies, honey. Just do what you need to do. These babies come first, and if you need to have one on the hip while you're feeding the other one, then that's what it's gonna have to look like. And I remember kind of telling myself, okay, get out of the mindset that it's gonna look like Partridge Family or whatever family on TV. First of all, partridges aren't black, but it's not gonna look like on TV, and you have to figure out a way to be comfortable with the reality that you have. So that's just kind of my parenting story. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was work. How do you manage work when you found the job that you think you wanted this whole time and your manager is a nightmare? You know, I was lucky enough, once I started working in this country, I was lucky enough to have really great supervisors. And then in my last position, I had a really, really, really great job. It was everything that I wanted. And then I had the person that I reported to was what I would say less than stellar. And it was really, really difficult. First of all, it was the first supervisor that I had was not female, and I was lucky enough that all the others kind of got it, and this person didn't get it. There wasn't the compassion, there wasn't the understanding. There were a lot of different personalities didn't match, and it just was not working. I didn't like going to work, and I had to look at myself in the bathroom mirror one day when I was getting ready to go to work and say, okay, how are you going to make this work for you? One of the things that I remember is that I had some really great clients. This kind of work, you can't do it if you don't like people. I love people, and I love connecting with people. I love pointing people in the right direction. I love helping people get past their hurdles. And it was really great when I would go into my office, close my door, and just connect with people one-on-one, help them find the answers that they're looking for. And that saved me. My connection with my colleagues saved me. Recognizing that I could sit on different projects within the organization saved me. I didn't need his permission, really, to sit in on a project or to sit in on a task or a task force. I could do things outside of his purview, and it really, really helped. Hey, Bianca, connecting with my colleagues, having lunch with my colleagues. When we had group supervision, that was really great because the manager wasn't a part of that. The other thing, too, that I would say is cultivating a life outside of that space. What do you do when you leave your 9 to 5 or your 3 to 11? What do you do before, depending on whether or not you work shift? What do you do when you're outside of work? Do you have friends and colleagues that you can connect with? Do you have a sport that you play? I have a really great friend that we worked together a number of jobs back, and she plays ultimate frisbee, and she is phenomenal, right? No matter what was happening at work, she went and she played her frisbee, and I think it has kind of saved her mental health over the years. You have to find something. You need to find your tribe. You need to find that thing that you do, whether it's a paint night. I mean, right now we're under lockdown, but that will eventually lift. And guys, we have to find a way to function outside of that person that you can't stand at work. If it's a colleague that's on your team, you know, go to lunch with some other colleagues. If it's someone that you're on a project with, you don't live at work. What happens after work? Can you connect with other people? Do you have some kind of spiritual practice that you can connect with on the weekend? Are you a part of a running club? Some kind of cooking circle? Whatever that is, find it do it. Save your mind. And also recognize, I would encourage you to look at if that supervisor or that superior or that person at work is um, is really hurting your soul. I would say start to look for the next thing. What does that look like for you? Does that mean I'm going to find out what it would look like to become a supervisor? Does that mean I need to apply for something in another department? Does that mean while I'm here having to deal with this foolishness, do I need to upgrade my skills at night or off working hours so that I can move to the rival company? Whatever that looks like, this isn't a life sentence, right? Just because you're here working in this situation doesn't mean that you'll be here forever. Set yourself up for the next thing, right? Bridging that, Sophia says, bridging that 9 to 5 with your passion is a lifesaver. Yes, it certainly is. So if work is a challenge for you, and I know for at least one person it is, for at least one person on here tonight, I know it is, I would say look outside of your work circles. And I know I don't have to tell you this, you probably already know the answer. But look outside of your work circles, expand on what it is that you do outside of work, and try not to allow for work to take up too much of that space within you. Let's see, what else? So I was talking to a client a number of months ago. This gentleman's marriage seems like it is, or at the time, seemed like it was crumbling. And he was saying to me, my life is falling apart and I don't know what to do because this doesn't happen in my extended family. Everyone has a long lasting marriage. Everyone is really happy. No one's getting separated. No one's getting divorced. Maybe I should stick it through. And he was so unhappy. He was so unhappy. Sorry, I was looking at your comments, guys. Get involved in your community. Being of service to one's community does wonders for one's mental health. And yes, I agree. I echo all of those sentiments. So back to this gentleman. He was just worried about what's going to happen. And the writing was on the wall. His wife was unhappy and she was looking for a way out. And she had refused to go to, for them to seek couple support. And it was looking like the marriage was on its last legs. And he was just devastated. Yes, he was devastated about losing her, but also about what would everybody say. And I really had to almost figuratively sort of shake him and say, snap out of that. People are out there living their lives. You have to, when you go home and close the door, you have to live in the middle of that. You have to live in the misery. You have to live in the verbal and emotional abuse. You have to take on all of that and go out of your door every day, put a smile on your face, pretend like nothing's wrong. Go to the family barbecue, pretend like nothing's wrong, while you are worried about what everybody else is going to say. We need to forget about what everybody else is going to say and live the life that is in front of you. I encourage you to do that. Nobody else is living your life. They may have things to say. They may talk about you, but guess what? They talk about you anyway. So you may as well figure out what it is that you need to do to take care of yourself. Let's see. So today I had the opportunity to watch the replay of a live. One of my community colleagues on here tonight, she's actually on here with us tonight. Her name is Sophia. Her tag is on Instagram is Sophia Campbell Inspires. She talks very openly about her journey with infertility until she was eventually blessed with a beautiful little girl. And, it really made me think about, today I was listening to that. She had a guest on her program today, and that guest was Petra Gordon, and her tag is Petra Ignites, if you want to look them up. Petra lost her husband a few years ago, and she did not expect to lose him at 38 years old. Sophia did not expect to walk this walk of infertility. But what do you do when things don't go your way? I know for Petra, she dug into her faith, and now she is coaching other women who are walking that same journey. Sophia found purpose in the journey that she walked, and now she's helping women who are struggling with infertility. Not necessarily, I don't, remind me again, Sophia, probably not necessarily um, get over the infertility, but in walking through it, I believe. Another friend of mine, 2 years and a bit ago, was devastated by the loss of her own child. And I can't think of anything much more gut wrenching than that. Loss is loss, and when you lose a loved one, you lose a loved one. But when you have a child, you have expectation. From the moment you find out that you're gonna have a baby, there you start to, in your mind, you start to travel this journey. About milestones. What's gonna happen when they have their first baby? Sorry, when they have their first birthday. What's gonna happen when they lose their first tooth? When they go to school for the first time? When they're dating, when they get married, you start to have all these thoughts and these dreams, and to have that removed by death is gut wrenching. And so, you know, it was hard for her, and it continues to be hard for her. To be honest with you, I don't know how she gets up out of bed every day. She's one of the strongest women I know. But hi, Kelly. Tonight we're just talking about making lemonade with the lemons you have. And this friend of mine, I can't say she's making lemonade with her life, because I don't know how you add sugar to the sting of that, right? But she has found purpose in her community. Again, she is giving back to her community. She finds ways to inspire other children, inspire children who play sports in her community. She's very, very much involved in the sporting community. And she has also now, she's gone and gotten certification in working with children who are grieving. And she is charting her own course in the grief community. Even in the midst of her daughter's death, she finished up, she had gone back to school, she had finished up her education, and now she's a professor. Like, I couldn't be prouder of her. But she has found a way, as difficult as it is, to keep moving forward by, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but it's as though she has made the decision to put one foot in front of the other and to move forward. I can't say that it's possible to really move forward after the loss of a loved one, because you will always carry that person with you. But she is taking one step every day with her daughter, right? And so I encourage you to do what you can. I don't know if you guys have any questions or thoughts about what we're talking about here. Jody, you mentioned meaning and purpose, so much more important than toxic positivity. I just want to talk about that for a second, especially since COVID-19. There has been a lot of talk on social media and on the internet about being grateful and being happy. And yes, gratitude is important, but the other emotions are just as important. And you can't cheer yourself up out of being depressed. If that were the case, then people wouldn't be depressed. They would not choose to be depressed. They would just cheer up and move on. So telling people to cheer up, telling people, just write a gratitude journal and everything's going to be fine. Yes, gratitude journals help, but it doesn't mean that it fixes everything. Sometimes you have got to sit and recognize, hey, I just got served a whole bucket of lemons when I was expecting watermelon, right? And just sit there with these lemons and look at them. Feel the weight of them in your hands. Taste them. Taste how sour they are. How bitter and awful life can be. Grieve what you've been dealt. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Don't just wash it away. Right? Sometimes you have to, the only way to the other side is through, is what I always tell my clients. You can't just walk around that stuff, because it's going to rear its ugly head eventually. Let yourself feel it. And then, little by little, you raise one foot, you put it in front of the other. if you have developed community around you, the people who are not toxic with their positivity, the people who will sit with you in that grief, the people who will sit with you in that silence, you move forward with them, right? You find your crew, you find your tribe, you find what gives you meaning, and you keep pushing forward. And have people sit with you and the sour lemons, yes. And I have to say that even with this role, this job that I have as a therapist, I am not perfect. I've had friends who have needed me in the past, and I haven't been there, but I've acknowledged it, and we move forward. We've been able to patch it up, and I try my best now to be there for people who need me, and to remember to let people in when I need them. Listen, there is no badge for martyrdom in this world. You're not getting a gold star. You're not getting a pin. You're not getting a pat on the back for bearing all the load by yourself. All that's going to happen is you're going to get burnt out. You're going to get depressed. You're going to wake up one day and you're not going to want to get out of bed because you decided to carry all of it alone. You need to reach out to your people, have them sit with you and the sour lemons, and then eventually you say, hey, where's that bag of sugar? Let's make some lemonade out of this. Move forward. Try to find laughter. Try to find your crew. I want to share this with you. One of my dearest friends is on here. I'm not sure if she's still on here, but I had to call her one night because again, I'm human. I fall into the traps of life and comparison every once in a while. And I have a post here a couple months back about comparison because I just felt that I had gotten to this stage in my life where life wouldn't be so hard. I'm not young and jaded anymore. And I just thought, I should be able to afford A, B, C. Our family should be able to do 1, 2, 3. And it just wasn't happening. And I had looked one day at a distant friend of mine who was able to afford all the trappings in life and was telling me not boasting, but telling me one day about certain trappings. And I left the conversation just feeling very in my mind, I thought to myself, I don't want to talk to you right now, right? I think that green-eyed monster just crawled up inside of me and curled up and took residence. And I'm not usually one for jealousy. I just think that's really petty. But in my mind, I was just like, what is happening? And I recognized it. I recognized that discomfort. And I thought, what am I going to do with that? And it was 8 o'clock at night. I can't call my therapist at 8 o'clock at night. But I knew I had a friend that I could call. And I called her. And we talked for over an hour. And we just worked it right out. And she reminded me, Roxanne, everybody's not going to be at the same place all at once, right? You may be ahead in a certain way that he or she may not be ahead. And they might be moving forward in one way that you won't be moving forward. And the road that they're walking on is not meant for you. The road that you're walking on is meant for you. So you just need to sit down, calm your little butt down, and recognize the road that you are meant to walk and walk it with all that you've got. And so that was a really great reminder for me because here I was, woe is me, look at me, I've got this bucket of lemons. And my girlfriend came and just shook that right off and said, go find your sugar, make that lemonade. And, it was such a timely reminder. So guys, I just want to encourage you. Life doesn't always have to be bitter. Everything happens in God's time, not in our time. Yeah, you're right. Everything's not going to line up the way you want it to line up. But I just want to encourage you, just because things are not going the way that you envision them to go, doesn't mean that your life is over. It might seem that way. And sometimes you may not want to get out of bed. But there are ways to move forward. There are ways to, you know, slowly. For some people, it may be slower than others. Some people might be able to just get up and shake the dust off and keep moving. For some people, it takes a longer time. For some people, it takes calling a therapist. Hint, hint, call me. But we can find our way forward, whether or not that's finding another job, upgrading our skills, getting promoted past your supervisor, or being able to say, being able to happily hand them your letter of resignation because you're moving on to bigger and better things. Whether that's getting up, walking away from your desk, driving away to have lunch somewhere else that's not your office, connecting with people during your lunch hour, working on projects where you don't have to connect with, negative Nelly or your crazy supervisor. Recognize that you don't have to be stuck here. Live the life that's in front of you, not the life that you are upset that you didn't get to live. This idea that it's not fair, I agree totally. Sometimes it's not fair, but you can move forward. When the dust has settled, what do you have left in front of you? Sometimes it feels like not very much, but if you look closely enough, there might just be something there. So hang on to that, guys. I want to thank you again for joining me tonight. I'm just recognizing that I've had you on here for 38 minutes and I try to strive for half an hour. I don't take it for granted that you decided to spend time with me here tonight. Everyone's doing a live on Instagram these days. So thank you for spending these few minutes with me. I'm also grateful to my children that they didn't come bounding through my door while I'm online with you here. You guys take care. This life is hard, but one day at a time, right? One day at a time. Thanks again. You guys have a good night. Cheers.